MGTOW copes. So, before we actually get into the video, I think it's important for us to define what MGTOW is essentially, fundamentally, what it stands for. So, MGTOW is this idea that men are going to go their own way because of radical feminism and their understanding that the system is simply unplayable. So, it's much better not to play it at all. Fundamentally, that's what MGTOW is. But a lot of times, people who partake in this ideology or this philosophy, they often overlook many things, and it's really just cope. It comes down to that. So first, let's take a look at the personality types of people who get into MGTOW. So I've noticed the people who get into MGTOW, there's basically two brackets. On the one hand, we have lonely young men, mostly in their teens, 14 years old until 24, 25. And the other group would be divorcees in their mid 30s to mid 50s. So those are the two biggest groups that adhere to the MGTOW philosophy. And here's the thing, when we talk about the first bracket, most of these lonely men have never had any lonely young men. They, they haven't had any kind of real female relationship. Most of the things that they talk about, um, they get it from the internet, with female nature, but they've never had multiple interactions or relationships with women that would um, tell them, okay, this is how female nature works. Yeah, because most of these young men, I have to say that they're, the definition of a loser. Like, if you look at them, these are type B personality types. Not very attractive. They're very scrawny, weakling looking, and they're really at the bottom of the barrel in terms of the social hierarchy. Okay, I mean, I'm talking about high school, right? Yeah, most of them are also nerds. So, think about it. Do you think these are the types of men that women will find attractive? I mean, the answer is obvious, right? No, because they go for somebody who's got good looks first and foremost, and then personality will start to intervene later down the line once you pass a certain looks threshold. So with these lonely young men, I just find it extremely funny because they cope by saying, oh, they know that female nature is this, that, the other. But then again, they've never had any relationship with women. And if they did have a relationship with women, it's an extreme aberration because and they'd use that experience to extrapolate, okay, this one woman means all women are like this. So yeah, it does cater to that certain demographic, lonely young men, most of whom are quite frankly, not to offend anybody, but they're losers. Yeah. And on the other hand, we have the next category, which are men in their mid 30s to mid 50s, most of whom have been divorced, or um, these types of men, they've had very horrible experiences with a couple of women, and then they get burned, and then they start to absorb all sorts of content with regards to MGTOW. So of course, you can see the problem here now, right? If you're somebody who was recently divorced or who went through some sort of heartbreak, you're gonna feel bitter towards the opposite sex, and you're going to start to think that they're all like that, right? And the cope with these people is that, oh, I'm in my prime because I'm in my 30s, 40s, 50s, peak earning power. Yeah, that is also true, but just think about the delusion that they're putting themselves in. They say that they can attract women in their early 20s. It even go so far as to say that they can attract 18 to 19-year-old women. But just imagine the generational differences in terms of like stuff that they like, humor, and just the fact that dating a 22 or 21-year-old as 40-year-old, 50-year-old, isn't that kind of weird, right? Just their outlooks in life are just radically different because obviously they're on a different stage in life. And I think that's also a cope because women in their 20s, they would want men who are also in their 20s. Like if you take a 20, 21, 22-year old, 23-year old fresh out of college, and she did not have any relationship yet, she would probably go for, and if you made her choose between like I don't know, a 45-year-old divorcee, balding, yeah, he makes six figures a year, maybe even half a million, but he already has children and all sorts of responsibilities. Do you think that pretty woman would go for that, or a guy in her age bracket who makes six figures, probably works in an investment bank, right? Attractive, tall. Between that, I'm 100% sure that the woman would go for that tall, attractive guy who also makes six figures. Maybe not half a million, but still six figures. It's even if it starts with a one. Because first and foremost, it would be weird for her to date somebody who's in his 40s and 50s. And most people will just look at that as a sugar daddy relationship. And this is something that they also overlook, those guys in their 40s and 50s. They think that they're playing the game right by dating somebody in their 20s, a girl in their 20s, but who's really getting played? Them or the girl? Because the girl gets more out of the relationship. And it's also stigma for the girl because look, this is something that they fail to notice, those guys in their 40s and 50s. They forget that a girl is much of her personality is dictated by her friend group. Don't you think that her friends won't tease her that she's dating somebody who's much older? And they don't. I'm pretty sure they're. I'm pretty sure it's not because of physical attraction. Why their girlfriend is in that relationship, and she's gonna be the butt of all jokes, right? Of course, people will throw in the anomaly, like, oh, what if she's dating a celebrity? But come on, we all know what we're talking about here. We're talking about on average, right? It's extremely delusional to think that a 40 or 50-year-old would be far more attractive than that of a 20-year-old guy who's also in her age bracket. Yeah. So when it comes to MGTOW, okay, I think the people who adhere to this philosophy, they complain about radical feminism, the insanity of modern dating. Women are this, that, the other. They're all the same. It's a gynocentric society, so on. So it's much better just not to partake in it. But maybe this is something that they're again overlooking. Maybe they're just not attractive enough. Yeah, and they would say, "Oh, it's just sour grapes, right?" Yeah, but that's reality. Maybe they're just not attractive enough for the type of women that they're gunning for. Because you have to understand, most of again, since I've already broken down the demographics that MGTOW caters to, or the demographic that MGTOW attracts the most. Look, a blonde, 5'8", um, blue-eyed girl who's a 9 out of 10 in the look scale, or even 10 out of 10. She wouldn't go for that intellectual, nerdy, um, scrawny guy who's low in the looks scale, right? I'm not even talking about the status or wealth here, just in terms of looks, right? So in this sense, these guys are just extremely delusional, beyond repair, right? To think that they're going to attract a woman of that caliber, it's just not plausible, right? They wouldn't even settle for a girl who's also in their looks range. So naturally, they cope by saying, "Oh, that's just our grapes." Yeah, but in reality, it's just that they're not attractive enough. And another thing about these MGTOW folks is, I think I mentioned it earlier already, is that they've had one really bad relationship with this woman, and they extrapolate that to all women. So yeah, that's cognitive dissonance in play. There's really no way to solve that because of all the bitterness and anguish that that woman has caused them. And if they had a chance, okay, I bet you these men who say they are 100% MGTOW, if they were given chance to be in a relationship with the woman that they would want, they would probably go for it. Yeah, because the loneliness that they feel, and the stuff that and the surrogate activities that they partake in, I'm pretty sure nothing would assuage their feeling their feelings of loneliness and that void in them. Yeah, you can self improve all you want. You can go to gym. You can focus on your purpose. But I'm 100% sure they would still want that female companionship at the end of the day. If they just uh, encounter that woman that would give that to them. And here's also an irony that I've noticed with a lot of these MGTOW channels. They say that they're going their own way, but 90% of the content that they talk about is about women. So that's another irony in the whole picture, right? Maybe you can call that Stockholm syndrome. I don't know. But yeah, those are the copes in MGTOW.